I think I did MDMA for the first time when I was 19 or 20. And I really had no expectations going into it. But what I remember clearly was for the first time in my life, actually experiencing self-love
Hmm.
and self-acceptance
Yeah.
and noticing how good it felt to just think of myself and realize that surely I wasn't perfect. There was no sense that I'm perfect. I have no ways of, I have no need to improve. But there was a genuinely felt sense of just accepting all of the parts of myself that I might normally sort of loathe or be uncomfortable with. And then that was connected to the observation that once I loved myself, it became much easier to love other people.
Yeah.
And that, and then the related observation that stuck with me was virtually all of the things that bother me about other people, especially when they don't seem rationally grounded. Just when someone's pissing me off for no reason, just getting under my skin, it's inevitably because they're reminding me of some aspect of myself, which I don't like. And with self acceptance just comes an ease with loving other people.
Right.
And that kind of, that stuck with me. I would say, I've done acid and shrooms as well, but something about the MDMA experience stuck with me in a way that survived my come down, where I could remember at minimum what it was like to feel that level of self love. And now I could notice in my sober life how far I was from that feeling. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
now serves as a reference point. Uh, so, and this connects to the conversation about meditation and the varieties of meditation that you can practice to try to get at these feelings. But I think we should also talk about the other psychedelics here. You've shared some stories in the past, some very interesting stories about dropping acid in the wrong locations
Hmm.
that I think are
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, I view, psychedelics as incredibly promising. I'm very happy that they're now being researched widely, and I think that just the therapeutic potential is obvious, and the fact that we lost a generation and a half essentially in research has really been a travesty. But I do view the recreational use of any of these drugs as something that you do have to bracket with some obvious warnings, right? I mean, it's not that these drugs are good for everybody. Um, and there are important differences among them that should be recognized. I mean, for instance, MDMA, while it's the least, well, it's not even a psychedelic, right? It's the least distorting of your perception. Uh, and, for that reason, uh, the experience you have on it can be a very clear reference point because it's just very easy to remember. There's not a dreamlike quality to having been that altered, but it nevertheless is physically just more dangerous than the proper psychedelics like psilocybin or LSD. I mean, as far as I know, there's basically no lethal dose of psilocybin or LSD. I mean, you'd have to take so much that you'd have to take the dose of 1,000 people to get anywhere near the lethal dose. Whereas with MDMA, the effective dose is not so far from the lethal dose so that ODing isn't something you need to worry about. It is, right. So it's maybe it's a tenfold. I think the LD50 on MDMA is maybe tenfold the normal effective dose. So so you have to be taking in many places all these drugs are illegal. Most places that people would be considering taking them, they're illegal. So it's there's you can't just recommend that people just start self-experimenting without any kind of caveats there. So I offer those caveats, but for many of us, it is indispensable to be shown that experience can be far more different than it's tending to be. The tendency to wake up every morning feeling like who you were yesterday, and to live within kind of the range of those, expectations for changes in your consciousness. That doesn't give you an indication really of just how much better your life could be if you made specific changes in how you pay attention and what you pay attention to. And it really is, and this is where meditation comes in. I mean, really, attention really is the cash value of what matters to us, right? I mean, the way we pay attention or fail to in the present moment, the kinds of things that capture our attention, and the intentions and motives and preoccupations that account for that. I mean, that is your mind. I mean, that is, you're making your mind in each moment, and you're effectively meditating in each moment. The question is, what are you meditating on? You're meditating on self-concern and all the things you regret and all the things you are anxious about and all the things you hope will happen. And that's most people's default operating system. And meditation is, this word can mean many different things, but the version that I would recommend is not, it functions by a different logic. It's not an attempt to change experience per se. You're not actually trying to improve experience. And this is why the state one experiences on something like MDMA isn't really the appropriate goal of meditation. Although again, that experience can certainly come along for the ride. But it's the logic we live by of trying to improve our experience moment to moment is ironically largely what degrades our experience, right? It's largely what keeps us from recognizing that the present moment and consciousness as it already is admits of real a real discovery of intrinsic well-being and intrinsic tranquility and intrinsic equanimity and intrinsic compassion, and in fact, unconditional love and many of these very, very positive emotions that people talk about. All of that stuff can be found sort of before anything changes in your experience, before you are in the right relationship, before you get the job you're hoping to get, before you get better from the illness you're hoping to get better from. I mean, whatever those contingencies are in your life where you think, if only I can solve this problem, I'll be back to zero. The truth is that is a kind of mirage, and most people never discover it to be so. Right? We just live our lives seeking happiness and seeking to become happy. And that's the implicit in everything we're attempting to do. And yet there's this recognition, which is itself meditation, that you actually can't become happy. You can only be happy. Right? And what most people are looking for are good enough reasons by virtue of changing their life in the world to simply get off the treadmill for some moments at a time and recognize that the present moment is enough, right? If I can just, if I had just bought, GameStop at the right moment, then I would actually be able to just relax and enjoy my life in the present. And again, that is a mirage, even when it seems to happen for many of us. Something great happens and you're just high-fiving everyone around you. That lasts for 15 minutes, 5 hours. And then you're faced with the same long emergency of just, what do I do next? And how do I scratch the itch that is now back